We typically think of the body as an object. Especially in Western culture, we value rational thought quite a lot. And I think the overemphasis on rational thought has created a massive disconnection from the body, emotion, instinct, intuition. And we actually have to integrate all of these, but the overemphasis on one starts to throw things out of whack, right? Us valuing rational thought is actually a bias. Most of our thinking is not highly intelligent. Most of our thinking is biased and completely wired for survival. It's a survival mechanism, right? So thinking is great. It's just that we need to understand that the body is not just a hunk of meat. The body is a highly intelligent system. And if you learn how to tune into it, it actually gives you extremely profound messages. It gives you access to very deep forms of intuition and your intrinsic guidance system. So I want to chat about this for a little bit. Most of us feel like we're just like this talking head, right? We're a head on like a stick, right? And the stick being our body. And this is really due to a disconnect from, the neck down, from the body. And the mind and the body are one. This duality between the mind and the body is artificially constructed. There is actually no separation between the mind and the body. I've been doing meditation and meditation retreats for like 7 years now. And it's to the point where I can feel beliefs that I have held as rigidities in the body and then let them go. Because your conditioning stores itself in the body. There's not even just a connection between the mind and the body, but they're completely unified. Right? And of course we can make a distinction between the mind and the body for practical purposes, for communicating, but existentially there's no separation going on here whatsoever, or between anything in this existence. So the body speaks to you through gut and heart feelings, flowing sensations, contractions, constrictions, and tensions, and just a sense of energy flow. And because there's so many distractions in our world, we're very easily pulled away from ourselves habitually to the point of complete disconnection. So when I say things like the body's a highly intelligent system, or it speaks to you, that can even just sound blatantly crazy to some people. Although it's very true. Your body is smarter than most of your thoughts, actually, right? So we like to think of our rational mind being like the epitome of intelligence for some reason, and that our body's like this dumb hunk of meat. We actually have to flip this completely upside down. Our rational mind is very biased, very selfish, in many cases very deluded. The mind is very, very tricky. Your body, though, is a very wise, energetic system. So before you can even think, your body already has non-conceptual responses and non-conceptual meanings of really what's going on. Right? So the intuition and the intrinsic guidance system, it emerges through the body, in a sense. Right? It comes to us through the body, and the more, in a sense, pure your body is, the healthier it is, right? The more you actually take care of it, the more connected you are to it, the easier it actually gets to really, really listen to yourself. So if your body is a vital, alive, and healthy place, your mental, emotional, and spiritual development can come far easier. And the thing is that if you're starting at like step one, there's so much conditioning, right, that's unhealthy, and it's going to prevent you from being able to really listen to yourself, to your body, to your intuition, to your intrinsic guidance. And it's a lot of that old conditioning that has to be looked at and investigated and processed, right? And this is kind of like the in a sense, deconditioning of the body. And once you're able to do that, it gets very clear that your body's really giving you a lot of signals, intrinsic, like in an intuitive and intrinsic way, right? I'm going to keep using the word, an intrinsic sort of guidance. especially through the practice of meditation and just mindfulness and consciously bringing attention to the body over and over and over again, you build that connection. It's like kind of like repetitions, right? If you want to build muscle, right, you lift and then you put it down. You lift and you put it down. You lift and put it down. There's that repetitive aspect. It's kind of like that with connecting to your body. When you place attention on it once, twice, again and again and again, and you keep wiring it into you, that, in a sense, connection to it, your ability to listen to it increases, right? It gets louder because our mind is always dominating our experience. Our attention is always locked in our thoughts. We find our whole sense of reality and self in our imagination, in our thoughts, right? We're disconnected from our actual experience, right? Always being lost in thoughts actually disconnects you from experience. It numbs you slightly. It has this slight dissociative effect. And this is very obvious for anyone who's practiced meditation long term. So embodiment is actually needed for true healing and well-being. There's no such thing as actually being very healthy without a deep connection to the body. That's just a fact. And the second you really get grounded and present and connected to yourself, that becomes so obvious. That becomes like common sense. It's like, duh. All right, so I have a lot of empathy for those of you who are really starting at, stage 1, level 1. Right? Which is why I really emphasize just taking care of the body quite a lot in a lot of my videos, eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, drinking clean water, right? Making sure you have a nice filter, not drinking just tap water, right? Eliminating junk food, exercising, stretching, be flexible in your body, stretch, right? You want the energy in your body to move and flow. You want it to be a vital place so that a lot of the old conditioning can come out, right? Because if your body is this numb, dull place, a lot of the old conditioning it'll remain stuck. And you have to practice meditation so you can actually give it attention and feel. Because your awareness is completely needed to, in a sense, allow that old conditioning to arise and process and then sort of like deconstruct itself. Just literally witnessing it. So, of course, this is kind of a long-term project that I'm actually saying in this video. This doesn't happen in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Like I said, I've been doing this for like 7 years. This doesn't happen quickly, right? These are like deep, complex issues that need a long-term vision, right? You have to focus on your long-term psychological, emotional, spiritual, and physical development to really grasp a lot of the things that I'm actually even saying in this video, right? And to actually experience it for yourself, to have that be your life. Right, so I want to just talk about some very core things that can help, right? I mentioned a bit of them, but I'm just going to read off a list that I have here written down. So daily mindfulness meditation and meditation retreats. Meditation retreats were some of the most powerful things I've ever done for myself. Right? And everyone I know who does them always agrees. It's like this radical deconditioning, because so much of our conditioning, right, it wants to stay alive. It wants to maintain itself and, perpetuate itself. It has a drive to survive. And a lot of our current setup, a lot of our environment, right, we actually use as a coping mechanism to distract ourselves from a lot of our conditioning. And a lot of our conditioning is just like repressed emotion, pain. So we actually use various distractions and junk food and TV and phones and, right, all this stuff to escape habitually. Just disconnect over and over and over and over again to the point of just deep disassociation. Right, so when you go on a meditation retreat, all your coping mechanisms are like stripped away. So you get a solid chance to like really go deep, right? And a lot of your conditioning can start to arise. Right, so eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, right? Having a very nutritious diet, eating when you're hungry, not because you're bored and you want to escape. Right? Making sure you're hydrated, stretching, yoga, exercise, walking, rest, getting a lot of sleep every night. Basically just not poisoning your body and then just giving it attention, repeated attention. Right? And you also have to stop escaping the uncomfortable sensations and emotions that arise. Right? This is a fundamental part of processing the old conditioning. Right? And instead, just embrace them and simply feel them. Have an open heart for your own suffering. Right? So I was reading in a book quite a few years ago, this study where the scientists brought these monks into the lab, and the monks were meditating, and the scientists hooked them up to EEG machines, and they were measuring their brain waves. And one of the scientists asked the monk, "Do you ever move in meditation?" And the monk replies, "Only out of compassion for my knees," which is, to the Western mind, sounds kind of ridiculous. It's like, compassion for my knees, that sounds silly. Right? But this is like this is the open heart that you really need to like really be well within yourself. Right? When you stub your toe, do you have compassion for your own suffering, or are like you mad at yourself and you hate your toe now? Right? Like, you see where I'm going with this? It's like the constant avoidance of your own struggling, of your own pain, is like a subtle hatred for yourself. You want to avoid yourself habitually because you don't like yourself. Because there's parts of you don't like. And we have to just like slowly over time, right, not forcefully and immediately, slowly over time, come into deeper and deeper and deeper levels of self-connection and integration so that we can experience a lot more well-being, psychological, emotional, physical, spiritual well-being. Right, all these things are very connected. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'm really just trying to emphasize that, especially in any kind of personal development or a spiritual path, the body is a very fundamental aspect of it that really can't be overlooked. And it's easy to interpret a lot of spirituality as a purely mental thing, right? The ego's thoughts. The ego manifests itself in the body energetically. The majority of the way that the ego manifests itself is in the body through tensions and constrictions and contractions, right? The ego is an energetic system. The thoughts are kind of like a surface level phenomenon, right? The thoughts aren't like what's really going on down deep. The thoughts are just like a symptom of an underlying sort of disease, in the same way that a cough is a symptom of a lung infection, the underlying infection. So that's it for this video. If you want to work with me one-to-one, you can apply, check out my website. It's all in the pinned comment and the description. Take it easy.